That's the two shot.
That's the two shot.
Two shot. Okay, there we go. Hey, wouldn't be on this channel if there weren't some technical difficulties. We might as well start out with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, might as well. Hey, welcome to The Soundman Stole Our Gear and other crazy gig stories. I'm Josh. With us tonight, Mark Wyers. Oh, I think I have the mic turned all the way down. Let me turn that up and see.
Is it muted?
No.
Okay.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, in case there was no sound, I'm Josh. This is Mark. Welcome to Crazy Gig Stories. And, nailed it. All right, so I'm here with Mark Wyers. Mark, I met first when he joined the Sinners.
Yeah.
A little band that I played in for, well, I guess we're still playing in. Technically, we played this weekend. We kind of play once a year like Spinal Tap just to keep the name alive.
Yep.
But he's also played with some of the craziest bands, such as Go Fast, and just to name Go Fast.
Yeah.
He's got some insight into not only the Sinners world, but the Scott Diffie world, and that's a world that we would love to hear some dirt and stories from. So, that wasn't awkward. No, not at all. Not at all. I'm just gonna...
I probably think some stuff, you know. Couple.
All right, good. Okay. Well, I hope that the audio is synced up. We're going to use a second camera here, and it's new, and hopefully it will make you look all pretty. Let's take a look.
Looks like me.
That's all I can do. I can make it look like him. I can't do
like
anything
me.
else. Our makeup person wasn't on staff tonight, so I apologize. Okay, so as usual, I like to start with a story that involves both of us, which that would be really hard to just pick one story, and some of the stories tonight are probably going to involve me, whether I want them to or not. So I thought I'd start with the fun story of how we met. So a mutual friend of ours who later was our bass player at the time, Johnny. Johnny ran a guitar store. I'd worked in it for a while, and you were one of the regular customers, but I didn't quite remember who you were. And honestly, you may have never have come in when I was there, because I don't remember. There weren't, usually it's just that's all you remember is the bad guitar players who come into the guitar store and try and play Enter Sandman poorly.
Yeah, Smoke on the Water.
Whatever. Things like that.
Yeah.
So, anyway. So, Johnny messages me, and he shows me a picture of a guitar, and he says, take a look at this Telecaster. And I'm like, that's a nice Telecaster. He says, well, I got to finish it by Friday. The guy that ordered it from me is moving to town. He'll from Fort Smith. He'll be here on Friday. And I was like, oh, well, that's very cool. And then he says, actually, he might be a really good fit for our band. We were looking for a lead guitar player at the time. And I said, oh, yeah? And he said, yeah, you might remember him from the guitar store. I said, nah, I really don't. And he said, well, that's okay. And I said, well, you say he's going to be here on Friday? Yes. Well, we're playing Midtown Billiards from 1 a.m. to dawn that night. Do you think he'd be interested? Is he that kind of guy? And he said, absolutely, he's that kind of guy. I'll message him. He'll probably be interested. There's money. There's free drinks. He'll probably say yes. Yeah. So I said, fantastic. So, in my mind, anybody who says yes and can play 4 hours of unrehearsed noise, then you've passed the test. So the thing I remember the most about that show, because we played, I don't remember the songs we played. I just remember throwing all sorts of songs at you, and you were like, yeah, no problem, whatever, no problem. But then the funny part, or at least I thought it was funny, and I didn't care if no one else thought it was funny. I said, we had a thing where we normally did where I'd introduce the band in one of the songs, and I'd say on drums and on bass, and so I said, now's the time in the set to introduce the band. And so then I walked over and we shook hands, and I'm like, hi, my name is Josh. And you're like, hi, my name is Mark. And it wasn't literally the first time we met, but
it was like the second time.
It was the second time, and the first time was probably, an hour beforehand. Yeah. So I don't know if anybody realized that was real, if they were there, but I thought that was great. And he shows up drunk to the show. Yeah. But I mean, it's we don't start till 1 a.m. It's who can blame him? Yeah. But okay, so that was my fun story, and of course the set was killer. You played everything. You had a Marshall amp that had Zeke stenciled on it. It was one of the guitars.
That was actually their
amp, and so I was like, well, okay, well, this is all right. And you brought like 4 people with you, as I recall. And I think, didn't your wife like try and take someone's purse, or wasn't there a purse incident?
Yeah. No, but it wasn't my wife. It was my brother.
Oh, it was
well,
what happened?
He was trying to do some good, and he saw this purse that looked like Deidre's, so he carried it to the car. And so she gets to the car, and
except that he'd really stolen a purse.
Yeah, absolutely. So somebody ran it back in real quick, and I don't remember. Yeah, it's been a long time ago.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, so there's the setup. So Mark, there's we talked earlier about a few different things. I don't want to get to the craziest, wildest stuff yet. We can't lead with that.
Right.
That's not good YouTube TV.
Right.
We've got to save that till the end, or maybe even the season finale. No, we won't do that. But
sure.
So let's start with I don't know what do you want to start with? What's
oh Lord.
Let's talk about On the Road. Let's get to On the Road first.
On the Road.
So we had a big red van with a white door, because Sean destroyed the door with a fire hydrant.
As you do.
No AC, just setting the stage.
Trying to think, my first out of town gig with the Sinners was. Hang on, sorry. Yep. I'm getting texts while we're
I'm
doing
getting
this.
texts
You
while
know,
we're doing
People
this.
are saying,
People are saying,
don't tell that story about Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City.
no, my first out of town gig
my
with the
first out of
Sinners,
town gig with the
was
Sinners, I
Dallas.
believe, was
The
Dallas.
Bar of Soap.
The Bar of Soap.
And
And
I mean, it was literally a laundromat.
where
you could go see
where
bands.
you could
but
go see
the
bands.
crazy
But
thing to me
the crazy
was
thing to
smoking.
me was it smoking.
Yeah. So you go do
laundry
at a smoking
laundry at a smoking
laundromat, which
laundry.
That doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make
That
sense to me.
Doesn't make sense to me. But
yeah.
so
we get to Dallas.
We get to
and
Dallas.
It seems like we all got there.
It seems like we all got there.
Around 8 o'clock.
Around
No,
8 o'clock.
we got
maybe
there
even
way-
earlier.
we got there
Maybe
way
even
too
earlier
early.
than that.
There was no one there.
There was
no one there when we got
And
there.
so we load in.
And so we load in, and
I don't know if everybody
I don't know if everybody out there in YouTube land knows what bands do as soon as they load
start
in.
drinking.
Well, they start drinking.
And so
As I recall,
and
we
so-
had
we
had a really good-
Yeah, we went to the
restaurant
right down. It was really cheap, so
It
we
was
all
really
had
cheap,
quite a few
so we
drinks,
all
as
had
I
quite a
recall.
few drinks, as I recall. What's that called?
Give me a minute.
Give me a
You remember
minute.
the name of the place?
You remember the name of the place?
I could
I'll be
at
really-
one point.
I could at one
maybe
point.
I forgot it.
Yeah,
I
maybe
do
I
remember
forgot
I had black
I
bean
do remember I
and
had
chicken
black
nachos.
bean and chicken
I had a
nachos.
They were-
barbecue.
I had a barbecue
Yeah,
pork
yeah,
wrap.
and a
They're
whiskey
really
Coke.
good.
I
And it
yeah, I
was
remember
really
that.
good.
Really
I remember
good.
that.
So we
Really good.
finally
So we
get our
finally
gear into the club.
Get our
we're
gear into
loaded
the
in.
club. We're loaded in.
I mean,
I mean,
it's still only 9 o'clock.
it's still only 9
point,
o'clock at
and
this point, and
Hank, the esteemed bartender,
the
is like,
esteemed
well,
bartender is like,
you
well, you boys are going until 1. We're like, no.
Yeah, because we were
Yeah.
we had been lured down by a local band called the Susans.
Right.
Yeah. Fantastic band.
And we assumed, hey, you guys are the big local guys, so we were just going to open. That's what we assumed.
Yeah.
That's what we
And
assumed.
we were thinking,
And
okay, so
we
we'll
were
open
thinking,
around
okay, so we'll
9,
open
maybe
around
10,
9,
and
maybe
we're
10.
Reasonable.
Reasonable now.
No.
And so part of our payment was in drink
was
tickets.
in drink
They
tickets.
exchanged.
We
for
exchanged and
Hankeritas.
Hankeritas,
Hank's version of a
Hank's
margarita.
version of a margarita.
You want to
And,
give the quick recipe?
You want
for
to give the quick
Hankarita?
recipe
Well,
for the
it's
Hankarita?
Well, I mean, it's tequila.
Splash of lime.
Splash
That was
of lime.
it. I mean, that
That was
was
it.
it.
I mean,
Big
that was
plastic
it.
mug.
Big plastic mug.
Yeah.
So
Now, as I recall, our there were like two of the band wives went on the trip.
Yep.
And they each got a Hankarita, took one sip, and said, "I can't
no.
drink this."
Yeah.
So I know you were double fisting, and I want to say maybe I got the other
yeah.
one. So we had 2 of those in our hands. And as I recall, Hank didn't take any of our drink tickets, no matter
right
how much we
after
tried to
he
give
had
them
given
to him.
us
He had given
entire
us
roll
an
of them.
entire roll of
Basically.
Basically.
You know,
Oh, well.
there are
You know,
venues around.
There are venues
here.
around.
Won't name
here.
where we are.
Won't
No,
name
I'm
where we
kidding.
are. No, I'm kidding.
That might give you 1 or 2.
That might
and they
give you
stick
1 or
with it.
2, and they
Hank
stick with
didn't
it.
Care.
Hank didn't
We also had a
care.
fill-in drummer.
We also had a
Now
fill-in
that's
drummer.
right.
that
Now
night.
we had no drummer. We had been offered the gig by the Susans and never once to turn down any gig ever.
Right.
We said, well, what can we do? And we asked around. Nobody was available to go out of town that weekend. And you said, well, I know a guy that lives in Dallas, and he's a drummer.
Yeah.
And I had done so much prep because I had a web page. We'd been through so many drummers. On the joshthedevil.com website, there was a page, a hidden page that was just called like, "So you're a new drummer, huh?"
Yeah.
And it was just a list of all the songs with links to play every single one
Absolutely.
of them. And we sent him that, a week, 2 weeks in advance, something like that.
Something like that.
I don't know that he listened to them.
No, I can.
I
can pretty well tell you.
I
did.
can pretty well.
You
tell
can sum
did.
up. You want to sum
You
up
can
his
sum up- you
performance?
want to sum up his performance?
We didn't really play as
He
fast.
didn't
as
really
we
play
did.
as
And I
fast as we did.
don't know
I
that he was playing the
don't
same
know that he was
songs
playing the
as we
same
were.
songs as we were.
I don't think so.
To his credit, it was his birthday.
To his credit, it was
So
his
he
birthday.
was- he was
so
birthday
he was
drunk.
he was
But,
birthday drunk. But
Oh, are people
for people
commenting?
Well, there's a problem. with the
Well,
mic
there's a
on the
problem
second.
with
I
the
didn't
mic
realize
on
it
the
was-
second. I didn't realize there was a mic on that cam. I'm gonna
Keep talking.
you
right.
keep talking.
all right.
So,
I'm gonna run over here and tweak some things. I think I can fix it.
well,
Okay. Well,
that was that story.
There we go.
I think second out of town gig with you guys was
Had to be Oklahoma. Was that
Oklahoma
Oklahoma or
City,
was that
or it
Harrison?
might have been could have been Harrison.
Okay, Jody be lucky. I think I fixed the echo problem, and you seem to be on top of everything. So if you comment back, then I'll know. So
Thank you.
I trust
Yeah.
you. Okay, let's talk.
Yeah, so there was a dart room in Fayetteville that was super early. Harrison, there was
The dart room. I forgot. Let's do a quick sum up of the dart room. I remember we were the only non-local band. Everyone else was from
Yep.
Fayetteville, that town. And I remember they loved every band but us.
Yeah.
Even though we sounded really pretty similar
solid.
to
Yeah.
and pretty similar to all the other bands. But
That's
yeah.
funny.
Roller Girl Benefit, I believe.
Sure.
Because there were roller derby girls everywhere.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it was one of those gigs where the sound man liked us and no one else.
Yeah. Nah, it's
typical.
fine.
All right.
Then there was Harrison, where I was riding with our bass player Johnny, and we broke down on the way. Also, coincidentally, it was raining, torrents, and so I don't remember who came and rescued us.
It was some people from the
From
club.
the club? Yeah, right. So we finally get loaded in and sound checked and all that, and Johnny and I are still just soaking wet. But then we had one of my top 5 favorite gigs of being in the Centers. I'm sure it was. Kids were enthusiastic. There were a lot of people there.
Yeah, clearly no bands had come there. It was a
Right, tattoo parlor or something.
It was right
No.
next to a tattoo parlor
Next
because
to a
Carl
tattoo-
got his
yeah.
ears pierced at that tattoo parlor.
That's funny.
Prior.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where, a club would pop up in a little town and it would be there for 3 or 4 months,
Yeah.
and they would desperately send out invitations to every band around, and we
Yeah.
seemed to be the only ones who showed up. They were very
Oh,
thankful.
funny. Yeah. What else? There was the I think we played Oklahoma City 3 times.
Yeah, because we played
The
Blue Note
Blue Note
by itself.
Yeah.
And then and that led to the festival.
Maybe?
Because a guy saw us and said,
Yeah.
we're doing a huge festival, and one of the bands backed out. You guys would be perfect. Can you
Yeah.
come back in like 2 weeks and play
And
that?
so we played in the parking lot of the 66 Bowl.
Otherwise known as the hottest place on earth.
The surface of the sun. It was at gig time 107 degrees, and there wasn't a cover on the stage. So, I mean, my guitar strings, and I'm sure yours were too, but hot to the touch.
The things I remember about that gig that no other gig had was, I remember, the strings were burning my fingers. The sound man came up to us and said he said, listen, I would normally say, let's put your stuff up there and sound check, but your set's not for another 45 minutes. I think your stuff's just going to just burn up there.
Just
Let's not
burst
do
into
that. Just
flames,
put it in the
yeah.
shade until right before we go on, which no sound check is never a great way to start a gig. But
Right.
I remember the strings burning my fingers.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember not being able to see the lights on my tuner.
Yeah.
I had to put a shirt over my head and kind of cover it so that it was to make a little bit of shade that was dark enough so I could actually see the lights on my
Yeah.
tuner. And then I remember the horrible sunburn and the peeling.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
And then
But
we went back.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Was it the first Blue Note gig that was so crazy? Or was it the second one?
I was
can't
thinking
remember.
the festival led to the Blue Note, but I don't recall.
No, I'm pretty sure
the Blue Note might have been
pretty
first.
Sure, I'm pretty sure the Blue. I'm pretty sure somebody at the Blue Note said, because I remember that happening when the guy said, but the fun time at the Blue Note I think was the second time.
Okay.
Because we played the Blue Note for the festival. I'm pretty sure didn't we play the Blue Note and the Oh gosh, now it's been so long I can't.
Oh, that's been 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah. The Blue Note. I think the Crazy Blue Note show was the first show because they said we're going to get you a local opener, and they didn't.
Right.
But they were incredibly apologetic. They were like, "We're so sorry, we couldn't get someone."
Yeah.
And if you only want to play your hour, that's fine. And we were like, "No, we'll play all night. We don't care." They were like, "Really? Yeah. You will?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Used to bands that are assholes because we're pretty nice guys most of the time, and so I think that was part of why that show was so well.
Well, yeah. So that one they actually we did play about 3 hours, and they actually let us quit early, and not because they were tired of us or anything like that, but the staff wanted to hang out with us.
That's true.
Basically,
that's true.
So they started kicking people out other than their regulars, and we were there till. I mean, it was late. It was the
I think there were probably 25 or 30 people.
Yeah.
So it became more like a private party.
Yep. They locked the doors. Nobody else in. Bass player.
We'll call him bass player X.
Yeah. Almost got arrested later that night.
Definitely. It was probably the Jaeger bombs. There were a lot of those, as I recall. I just have flashes of that night. Because I remember them saying, and I just overheard. I was putting my gear away, or I was talking to somebody with some merch, and I overheard you ask the bartender for something again.
Yeah.
And she said, "Just come back behind the bar, get whatever you want,
okay.
Drink whatever you want." And that was when I looked over because I knew I was going to see something spectacular. And I saw you and Ryan, and it was essentially Shaggy and Scooby-Doo. Your feet were like spinning, like you could, and then finally you took off behind the bar, and then made like 6 Jaeger bombs.
Oh,
that's the way I remember it.
So, and I don't remember what led to cops almost being called on him. But
I do.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So our bass player at the time was a very large man, and I mean that as in a Paul Bunyan sense, and could pick his upright bass up over his head and kind of swing it around like an axe almost. So, needless to say, he could drink a lot. Without really, without really affecting anything. Yeah. So, without really trying. So you kind of never knew what you were going to get with him. Yeah. And when we got to the hotel before the gig, he pulled out a platinum card of some type and said, "Hey, I'll take care of the rooms." And we all said, "Okay." Yeah. And so then. He says, "Let's get 2 rooms. Can we get the ground floor?" "Well, 1 room on the ground floor." "All right, that's fine. But it's got a jacuzzi in the room." "Okay, but it's in the middle of the room." It's out there next to the bed. It's right next to the bed. "Okay, fine."
Y'all got the honeymoon
Now
suite.
it was we did. It was a king bed. Now. You and Leewood were upstairs, as I recall,
right.
And Ryan and I were going to be. We were going to be downstairs, and he was not cool with just one bed. And they said, "We can get a roll of bed. We'll have it in there by the time you get back." We show up drunk at 4:30, 5 a.m.
It was
It's
late.
not the same desk guy. He has no idea what we're talking about. The room is very close to the front desk, so I heard everything. And he says, he's telling the guy, "I need a rollaway bed." The guy's like, "I don't have any more. They're all gone." And he's getting more and more angry, and eventually, and this is, it's like, I've lost the word.
That happens in our age.
It happens in our age. He says, he starts to worry the desk clerk. The guy's getting very worried, and rightly so. And he says something to the effect of, "Sir, I think I'm going to have to call the police if you don't calm down." Because at this point he's screaming at 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
And he says, So our bass player pulls out his phone and says, but then takes off his shoes.
Took off his shoes, yeah.
Held his shoes up to the guy and said, "Call the police. I'll go to jail. I got my shoes right here."
Yeah.
To which the clerk realized he was not dealing with an ordinary drunk gentleman.
Right.
That there was no possible way the police could respond fast enough. And he decided to just come up with whatever solution he could and go back to reasoning. To which some blankets and pillows, I believe, sufficed, and he was fine.
Yeah.
He's like, "Okay, fine, I'll take the blankets and pillows."
Yeah.
And then that was basically the end of it.
Right.
But now, when asked later what that statement meant, we never got a real answer.
Didn't
I don't think he
know.
remembered any of that.
Yeah, he didn't know.
But I've got my shoes right here. I love that. I love that. Now, all right. So talk about the set, because we were invited back to that festival again. What do you remember about that? Because that's the one with the bowling alley.
Yes.
They didn't make us play outside. We graduated.
We graduated to the main stage, I guess it was.
Yeah.
And we actually got to play on a stage that was set up across bowling lanes. So that was cool. That was a first and last for me.
Yeah, people bowled around
Bowling
us
around us
while we played.
So,
that was fun.
That was cool.
That trip seemed a little more
That was
tame.
pretty more tame. And we had Clinton with us, didn't we?
Yes. I think the highlight of that show was the beef jerky outlet that we found.
Yes.
It was not debaucherous at all.
No. Gosh, who else have I played with?
Yeah, now tell us about joining Go Fast.
All right.
Because you didn't have any tattoos. You had one tattoo. You had one tattoo.
I had one or two.
And then you joined Go Fast, and when you joined Go Fast, I've seen this with multiple members.
Yeah, I'm up
you
to
just
20
immediately become
so.
covered in tattoos.
Yeah, well, I've known Diffie, the singer, for I don't know 20-something years, I would think, and he and I had a duo where we just basically did Go Fast songs, going back 10 years or more, and then I don't know, Jimmy Powell and Brent LeBeau joined Go Fast, and then one time they were talking about doing a Go Fast show, and I was in the room, I think, and Diffie's like, "Well, hell, son, ain't you in Go Fast?" I'm like, I suppose I am. And so, been there ever since. But my first out-of-town experience with Diffie, and I hope you don't mind him telling this, but I think it's funny.
I think he'll be offended if you don't
You're
tell
right.
the story.
He's like, "Well, I'll pick you up at, whatever time, and, we're going to play some wedding reception," which I already think is hilarious. Because I had this preconceived notion that we'd be doing 100 miles an hour down the interstate, and there'd probably be Jack Daniels and whatever else. Well, he shows up, I don't know, right on time in a Honda Fit, and we load all our gear just so. I mean, it's perfect. We go down the interstate, like 67 in a 70, radios at a reasonable volume, and then we play this nice house in Cabot. A nice house. And it comes time to get paid, and we were supposed to get $100 each, and so I took my 100, and Diffie saw a taxidermied raccoon on the wall, and he's like, "Well, hey, can I have that instead of my 100? So there was that one. There's also... Yeah.
Taxidermied raccoon. Well,
Yeah.
he had to have that for the shop.
Well, yeah.
I mean, obviously.
That's
had to have
absolutely. Then there was, I think it was our last Go Fast gig that we did. We just, the older we get, the less we work. That's fine. Diffie had been dating someone famous's daughter.
Are we not talking about who it was?
Well,
Or,
somebody
I
who
think
was
that's half the story.
guy named Jim Dandy Mangrum.
Little guy named Jim Dandy.
Yeah. Who
was it?
played stadiums in the 70s.
Black Oak, Arkansas.
Yeah, Black Oak, Arkansas. He was dating Piper, and they broke up the day before this show. Well, we're opening for Black Oak, Arkansas at this show. So there is this just tension, in the air this whole time. And I say we opened for Black Oak. We actually went on after Black Oak.
That sounds like a headliner.
So, yeah. So, that was something else. And there was, for about a week or two, this kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a feud, but it was kind of a feud.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a social feud.
Between us and them, yeah. So that was funny. I'd never been in a feud with a band that played stadiums before.
Yeah.
That was cool.
There was a ton of shit talk afterwards. All I heard was the shit talk. It was all quotes from Diffie like, we wiped them off the stage, and then just destroyed, and we were the real band there, and
we did what we do. Absolutely.
It's humble.
Yeah. we did absolutely.
Diffie's not going to be humble, so someone in the band has to be.
Oh gosh. What else? That's my best Go Fast story by far. Yeah, 'cause I hadn't been in the band just too terribly long, 4 or 5 years now. I would wager. I was in a Christian jazz band once.
Okay.
That was the last actual honest to God tour I went on, and this was 2004, 2005, somewhere in there. But we started out in Little Rock, and I think we played at maybe a church the night that tour opened, and we had to drive all night to Marion, Illinois to be on a TV taping. I don't know if anybody out there on the YouTubes knows the name Benny Hinn, but he's a faith healer.
Yes,
so
he is.
We were on his show, and the lady with the big blue hair was on there, so we met them. Well, let me back up. Dead of winter when this tour is happening, January, February, and it's cold. It's cold. So we hit ice on the way to Marion, Illinois, and just almost didn't get there in time. And then from there on, ice plagued the tour for a couple of days. I think there were a couple of cancellations because of it. And then we were supposed to be in eastern Pennsylvania for about a week. And we made it, eventually. Most of the shows were canceled. And so to fill those shows, we played at nursing homes.
As one would do, sure.
And then we mercifully made it back to Little Rock, and I was like, see ya.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
The next step was where you opened for the puppet show.
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of bad weather and ice and not being able to get to gigs on time.
Yes, this is a good story.
We did. Now our band tried to end ourselves several times. We tried several unsuccessful.
This was
suicide
billed
attempts.
as our last show.
It was. In fact,
that's right.
If I recall correctly, Robbo just took one of our pictures and made an awesome flyer.
Micah did that.
Micah did that.
Micah did that. Yeah, for sure.
Well, then what did Robbo do? Maybe he just
Robbo was Robbo.
Robbo's doing Robbo things.
Yeah.
But okay, well then it was Micah. I know. Yeah, Micah did a lot of our flyers.
Yeah.
So, we tried several times to just have a big final show, and this was one of them.
This was one of many.
And this was
we're like a furniture store.
And it was just supposed to be us opening for the legendary Shack Shakers.
Yep.
And it seemed like the best time to just kind of end the band. It's like, this will be a big crowd. It's a big stage. There'll be good lighting, and that'll be perfect. And Mother Nature didn't want us to do that.
Didn't cooperate. So the day of the show, we had about 10 inches of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
If memory serves, 8 or 10 inches. And so Johnny and Lee Wood couldn't get to the show. I mean, Josh and I could,
Not
but
safely.
Right. We lived closer than those guys, so we got it. Well, Carl and Sean, who were in the centers before I was, bass player and drummer, agreed to do the show. So we just did it unrehearsed. And so...
Yeah, there was too much snow on the ground to really do a rehearsal that day, so...
And so we had about 28 minutes worth of material planned.
Which in Center's Talk is about 30 songs.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 15 to 30 songs, depending. And we did those. We were really tight. And what I remember from that first 30 minutes is half the crowd loved it. The other crowd, half vocally hated us.
Yes.
Like, some people are ambivalent. I prefer let me know one way or the other.
Yes.
And so, and eventually, I don't remember if it was Chris King or who asked us to play, like, just do 15 more minutes.
Yeah, they kept coming on the PA and saying, give us another 15 minutes. And we're looking at each other going,
and they did that 4 or 5 times. We ended up playing almost 2 hours, and so people are filing in, and it eventually ends up packed.
Yeah.
And still half the crowd hates us, half the crowd doesn't.
It does seem, it was one of those things where, because of the ice, people weren't sure if shows were going on, and probably a lot of other local shows were canceled. And the Shack Shakers, I believe they were in Memphis.
Yeah.
So when they kept saying they're just delayed, they're coming from Memphis, it seemed logical that, that's about, when there's no ice, that's an hour and a half, hour 45. And if there's ice, okay, well, by this point, surely they've got to be close, but...
Yeah. So we played the hour 45 or so, maybe 2 hours.
It was ridiculous.
Know. It was ridiculous.
We played half the first part of the set again.
Yeah, that's right.
Because new people had come in, and so we played those, and the people that had hated those songs the first time
still hated them. So we play, and I stuck around a while to see the Shack Shakers. Well, I left it. It was late, 1:30. I don't think they loaded in until 1:45, and they did actually play.
Yeah, they probably gave those people their money's worth, but we were just placeholders.
Yeah, absolutely. So part of our alter egos occasionally when you play hard rock is to eventually everybody ends up in a cover band.
Oh,
at some point.
Sure. I got a call. What I remember was I got a phone call from a guy that runs an entertainment agency. He books DJs and bands, and he called and said, "I'm in a pickle. I got a date. I got a place. They want a band. I got no bands.
Yep.
Can you do this?" When again, never one to turn down any show at all.
Right.
He said, "Well, of course we can. We do that all the time."
Yeah. And so we called that iteration of the Center's Hot Rod Van. And at this point, I think it consisted of me, you, Lee Wood, and Chiaro.
For that show, yes. Although we did 2 country club gigs.
That's right. Yeah.
The first
so
one
Chanel,
was, I think, just you and I and Lee Wood.
That's right. We did that as a trio. Yeah, and that was unique in that you and I actually did 3 gigs that day.
That's right.
We played, I believe, at the Cricket Store.
Yes, we did.
Because that's what you do.
Because that's what you did. We played the Cricket Store for no one.
Then we played the Country Club in Maumelle, or the older country club.
And then we did Midtown later.
And then we did Midtown.
Yeah.
And then, so a couple of months later, we get this offer to play at Chenal Country Club.
Right.
And we're like, sure.
Much fancier.
Yeah.
We weren't stuck in a corner. They actually had a stage.
They had a stage, but I'll never forget the writer, or our contract said we had to wear khakis.
Yes.
We had to wear green
it was a golf
polos.
Tournament. It was a golf tournament.
Yes.
Yeah.
Had to wear green polos. So we get there, and only a couple of our members then had tattoos, but we walk in and the talent buyer comes up. He's like, refresh my memory. What kind of music do you guys
He was
play?
very worried.
Very worried, and we're like, I don't know, like death metal.
Yeah,
I don't
Slayer.
know. Yeah,
Play some Megadeth.
you like Gorgoroth? You know.
3 inches of blood.
Yeah,
You guys
yeah.
like that at the golf tournament.
So, and I just remember it didn't matter which country club we played at; they didn't like us. I mean, that's,
no, I take no.
well,
no.
maybe
the first one.
they kind of
The
did.
first one we were just background music, and
Yep.
that was fine. What I remember from the country club or the golf tournament one was I remember people kept asking for Leonard Skinner songs. As
Yeah.
long as we were playing Skinner, they were happy. And I
Right.
remember playing Sweet Home twice. We played Sweet Home Alabama twice. And I remember playing several just soul-sucking, bone-crushing songs.
Oh, yeah, well-
Anybody who's ever been in a cover band or been at a show where people yell something and you have to play it, we did Brown Eyed
I was about to say that is the only time I've probably played 1,000 gigs at this point. It's the only time I've ever done that song.
And it was one where we had to do it.
Yeah,
We had to do
it was in our contract.
Yeah. The only
So-
time I've refused to do a song was that we did a wedding in Jacksonville. We did a wedding party. It may have just been me, Johnny, and Lee Wood. I think it
I think that was
was.
before I joined, but yeah.
They sent a list of songs, and number one on the list was Jambalaya, and I said I'm not playing that song. I hate that song.
Yeah.
I tried. I got online. I found like 17 different versions. Great bands playing that song. It didn't matter. I could not play that song, and I was like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
We forgot that one.
Oh, I get it. So that was our country club career. Another country club gig worth noting for me was playing the other country club in Maumelle. Whatever it's called.
Sorry. Technical
One
difficulties.
of them's Country Club of Maumelle, one's Country Club of Arkansas. I can drive you to either one of them. Can't remember which one's which. But anyway, so I was playing at the newer one, we'll say, with Jimmy Powell and Mike Nelson. We've had a trio for many, many years, and before the gig, about a week out, we started talking about, like, it was supposed to be hot, and I was like, well, we should wear shorts. And one of the guys is like, no, let's wear Daisy Dukes. I'm like, okay. So, show up for the gig. I've cut off my finest blue jeans to make a pair of Daisy Dukes out of them. Those assholes didn't.
Oh.
So we had a Daisy Duke packed, and I actually brought a pair of blue jeans with me to that gig, but I didn't put them on out of spite. So
I don't blame you.
yeah,
You
So there
committed. They didn't. They needed to see that all night long.
yep. So there was that.
How did they not know you wouldn't commit? Because you're always one to commit. Although
I'm in.
I will say our Runaways set,
Yeah.
nobody committed as much as I did.
No,
feel
I agree with that.
I feel
Well, Mike Nelson, I don't know.
I don't.
I don't know.
Hang on, that's what happened here. There we go. Having some small technical difficulties here. Good grief.
Yeah,
I
the
know
Runaways.
we've got a little bit of an audio delay on the good camera there,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to work those
Is what
bugs
it
out.
is.
It is what it is. It's like a those shows where the guitar didn't work.
Yeah.
Or the amp didn't work, the pedals didn't work.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
No, that Runaway set was fun.
We did that. That was fun. We
Um,
performed as the Runaways in drag.
Yeah, we did Poison, which was basically the same thing.
Poison was basically it was pretty close. Okay, now I've got a story that I kind of just remembered about a show that didn't happen. And you tell me what you remember from this game.
Oh, yes.
Our drummer Leewood got a call and then called us. We were both working at Guitar Center at the time, so we were easy to track down.
Yep.
And he called and he said, "Well, guys, do you want to be green Jello?"
Yeah.
And we were like, "Well, I'm curious." And I said, "Well, tell me more." Well, the lead singer has been flying around doing a few shows with pickup bands locally. So he's looking for a backing band. Leewood's, I'm assuming there'll be costumes involved, but you'll need to work up about 7 songs, which seemed really, really short. That's not a lot of songs for a set. You put on a bunch of costumes and only did 7 songs. About 30 minutes, pretty short. But you were like, yeah, okay.
Sure.
Now, I graduated high school in 94, and so, the Three Little Pigs song and the video that was it.
Yeah.
We were watching Beavis and Butthead, watch them.
Yeah.
It was big. So, the 15, 16-year-old, in my head was going, you've got to do this. You have to play as Green Jello. There will be puppets. So I think you came up with the best idea. You said, well, is there an opener? Can the Sinners open?
Yeah, we could have opened it.
Because that way we can, actually maybe get some fans. We maybe can sell some shirts or something. And we say, so we pass the information to Leewood. He calls back, yes, the Sinners can open, half-hour set. All right, hey, this is starting to be pretty fun.
Looking up.
We can do 30 minutes of our stuff. Our gear will be on stage the whole time, which means we'll have it really dialed in. The sound man will have it all set. Yep. It'll be perfect. And then we'll go, assumingly put some costumes on. And again, you were the bright one. You said, hey, now, what are we getting paid for this?
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at a thing where we're playing 2 sets, and they're already pre-selling tickets.
Something.
What are we getting paid?
Yeah.
And we get the information back. They can't guarantee that we'll get anything.
Right.
It would be completely up to the singer from Green Jello.
Yep.
And our immediate thought is, man, no guarantee. So I remember I said to you, what seems like a reasonable guarantee we could ask the club for? And you said $200. And I said, they're not going to do that. What about 60?
Yeah.
$20 a man.
20 a man.
Let's see if they'll just give us that. For 2 sets, $20 a man, yes, that's cheap. So we call Leewood. Mark and I feel like we deserve at least a guarantee of $20 a man, $60 from the club if the singer decides that he doesn't have any money for us. And if he gives us $40, you only owe us $20, and so on. And we got the call back, and what did Leewood say they decided?
They canceled the gig instead of...
How many days? This was 2 days before
2 days
the
prior.
gig. 2 days prior.
Yeah.
Canceled the gig,
canceled
so we
the
weren't
gig.
Green Jello.
We were in practice a couple of times.
That's, and here's the thing I'll say about that. I was disappointed in the club for not sticking up for a local band, having a local band's back, but I was way more disappointed that we weren't going to get to play those songs. I felt like, no offense to anyone who's ever played with Green Jello before, but I think we killed that set. I think those songs sounded freaking great. So it was very disappointing not to be able to show people what the Green Jello and the Sinners would have sounded like.
Absolutely. We saw a dude get beat by a woman holding a stiletto once. That was fun.
Was that at Midtown?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay. That's a good story. Now, from the stage, you get to see a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
How much of that story do you remember?
So, I just remember, we're playing, and all of a sudden, there's this melee in front of the stage, and a woman pulls her shoe off. She's beating a dude. Some other guy runs in, and that's when our mics and monitors get knocked off the stage, and then we're like, we'll be right back.
Yeah.
And so, a couple of people got carted off, but I don't remember, what caused it.
Now,
if we knew.
What I remember was, and not that I remember, I remember that there was I remember looking down, and right in front of you, there was a really timid-looking guy who looked very out of place. Like he was in the wrong place, first time there.
Yeah, wrong place, wrong time.
He was leaving a bar, and someone suggested it. He's like, yeah, okay, I'll go down there and check it out and see what's going on. And realized that he'd walked into the Double Deuce from Roadhouse.
Yeah.
And then I remember, and he was by himself, and he had a drink, and he was just kind of listening to the band. I think he was more interested in the band than anything that the club had to offer. And then there was a girl right next to him that was just dancing by herself, but noticed him and started dancing kind of on him. And I don't want to say with him because he wasn't dancing. He was just surprised. He was like, "Oh my gosh, there's a girl and she's
What
dancing.
are you doing?
What are you
this?
doing?" Yeah, he was. It wasn't a bad thing, but it was like, "Oh, okay, I'll just go with this." And within this was the most timid guy ever.
Yeah.
And then within seconds, she turns on him like a cougar and just wails on him.
Yeah.
And then, within seconds, I look over and she's hit him a couple times. I look over at you, and then I look back, and he's like laying on the monitor, and she's wailing on him.
Yeah.
The security guy comes over, kind of grabs her from behind to calm her down, and knew her by name, knew her first name.
Yeah.
She calms down. She goes up. She's like, "Okay, fine." And he eases up. And as soon as he eases up, she's back on, and she's wailing on him. And then the only other thing about that I remember was, whenever there's a fight, you kind of have to stop the show. And I don't want to take a mic to the teeth.
No,
that's
not
the
again.
last thing you want to do.
Not again.
So call it. And I remember us going out back, not right away, but we went out back because when you're in a band and they're just giving you buckets of beer, and now our rule for Midtown was one of us would always get a case of water because you have to at a place like that. And I would down a bottle of water between every song, and it's so smoky. You've got to do something. You can't breathe. You can't.
We're out back peeing.
Yeah.
When the cops get there.
You gotta go pee.
And they walked past us like this, no, we're just
not looking. No,
I
didn't see that.
paying these guys any attention.
The ambulance was already there, and I remember we didn't care that we were peeing in front of the EMTs and the ambulance.
Nah, they didn't care.
It was just about the cops, and we were like, "Oh, there's the cop." Oh, they don't care. Okay, good.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, EMTs understand bar bathroom germs. So,
we were the smart ones to pee outside on the dumpster. The dumpster was cleaner than the bathroom.
Cleaner than the bathroom. Was it us that played? This is sad that some gigs run together, but did you play that gig? It was on University at the old auto dealership.
The Flying Double D?
Yes.
Yes, I did. With our good friends... Frown Power. Yes, our good friends Frown Power, who... It was just us. No, it was just our two bands. Never, if there's a new club and bands are playing there, you got to check it off your list.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of musicians can understand that. If there's a club and it's like, well, they're booking other bands like us, why have we not played there?
Why
not? All you can do in a band like ours is send them a message. Hey, here's what we sound like. Do you want us to come and play? And if they say yes,
we're there.
You give them what you give them, and
we did, and.
They
closed.
We did, and then they closed. I don't know that those were related, although we did play a lot of places. That place in Conway we played, and then they closed.
Yeah.
That was like a warehouse. We have played a lot of places that have closed now.
Yeah. Hot Rod Van at Cajun's was memorable.
Yeah, that was pretty good. We did a ton of really weird covers that we never did any other night. That's the thing I remember
lots
about
of Chuck Berry. Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Did some Stevie Ray Vaughan at that show because that's what you do? Sure. Everybody kept saying, they kept handing us napkins that said more 70s, and we would play the Doobie Brothers, and they're like, that's not what we meant. You're like, well, I don't know if you want ABBA or what, but it's not happening.
Or
All right, so let's do a little bit of.
Do you know any Pearl Jam?
Yes.
No.
Let's talk about we had a Spinal Tap like revolving door of members for a while.
Yes.
So what are your favorite kind of one-off stories from Quick members?
Well, I'm not convinced I remember everybody that's been in this band.
I'm not convinced I do either.
Gosh. You know what? There was a recording session we did years ago, and by I say we, I mean the band. And when I had to be out of town for something. And when I got back to the recording studio, we had a different drummer than what we started with.
That sounds right. Did we lose? I think we lost Leewood and gained Josh Tate.
Josh Tate, yes. But when I got back, and of course this was not pre-cell phone days, but not everybody had one either.
That's true.
So
we just didn't tell you.
Got back, like, oh, you're new, you'll be fine. We went from the Sinners went from a trio, or from a duo, right, at first.
It was Josh the Devil and the Sinner. That's right. We were just a
duo.
duo.
To a trio.
Yeah.
To a 4-piece.
Yeah, there were a lot of one-off bass players before we found our first real bass player.
Yeah.
Who was with the band for quite a while. And then the drummers have just kind of been sporadic, because, I mean, we haven't even talked about Drunky McDrunkerson and his whole, roll his car over after the show and limp to the gas station to call 911 and then have his girlfriend call me the next day because he's so worried that he can't play the show. We're going to kick him out of the band, and it's like, look. Just because you can't play the show doesn't mean we'd kick you out of the band, but if you're going to drink to the point that you completely destroy your car and your arms after the show we play, then
we got other things to deal with. There was that. Oh, gosh.
I hope he doesn't mind me telling that story. That is his real name, Drunky McDrunkerson.
Yeah,
so,
well, he's Irish.
But he's, so. Now, what about the pair of shows we did for the contest soundtrack film thing for Decadent Evil 2?
Yes.
Because the first show was kind of uneventful, but then the second show was really good. Because the first show we won, and we just wore regular clothes. The second show, Johnny had found us turquoise and brown Western shirts on a clearance rack from
I still have
someplace.
mine.
I still have mine too. We should be wearing them now.
Yes. That was a good show. Did we have songs on that soundtrack?
We had songs
was there
in
a
the
soundtrack?
movie. I don't think there was a soundtrack actually released separately, but there were at least two songs. There was I think there was a stripper that danced to one of our songs.
It was Possum Swamp.
Possum Swamp, yes, Possum Swamp. And
that's what you danced to.
Because that's what you dance to. The song about some kind of killer possum that lives by the swamp. That's sexy as hell. But what changed for the band at that point was we were able to secure two pretty damn good go-go dancers.
Yes.
And we decided that was the thing for us. And then the next time we played, we couldn't get the same go-go dancers. We got one.
Yeah.
And then we had to call in a reserve, and that was kind of a disaster. Do you remember that show?
Yeah, so we had all brought our wives, right?
Bad idea right away.
Yeah, and so our first two go-go dancers just did that.
They go-go
danced. And so our new stand-in
go-go dancer, sure.
Not sure I even remember how many we had or all their names, but six, probably
5 or
6, 7,
yeah.
So new go-go dancer decides it's a good idea to try to perform live sex acts for the crowd
during
our set. And so we got off stage, and the band wives had met, and decided the music was really good, but that we should not have go-go dancers anymore.
But we did. We just had to get actual go-go dancers.
Right.
Because we did, after that, we had 2 real go-go dancers. You can find those on the Josh the Devil YouTube page. That's youtube.com/Josh the Devil. There's a bunch of shows that we played there on that page, so you can check some out. You can check out some of these stories. Now, I will say, I want to go back to this before we wrap it up. Because we got distracted with technical difficulties. Let's go back to the bar of soap.
Oh yeah.
So to catch everybody up to speed, we truck it down to Dallas. We haven't met the drummer. We don't really know him very well. We're just assuming he can play the set. We start drinking very early. We finally get on stage, and we are very, very drunk.
Yep. You kicked your amp over at some point. I broke a string, didn't know it. Not that mattered. I don't think
that's true.
Yeah.
What I remember again, I remember only flashes. I remember trying to take my shirt off and having kind of a John Candy moment, and then kicking my amp over on accident.
Yeah.
And I remember you just like screaming, like just yelling stuff, and not really singing, but just like yelling stuff, not near the mic. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I remember is I watched the footage. Your brother, who had been drinking just as much as we had, I'd given him my video camera, which was not a smart idea. And when we got home, I watched the video, I think, one time, and then I deleted it because I didn't want anyone to see it. Partially because of our performance, and we were, I came away thinking, man, we were pretty drunk, but we did all right. We got through that. It was
the footage proves it.
The footage proved otherwise.
But they loved us.
They did. They did love us. That place closed shortly after.
But of note, Gigi Allen had defecated on that stage.
Wow, and they probably hadn't cleaned it.
No, the original Misfits had played there, so that was cool.
There are a lot of it had been some classic punk club, I think, years prior.
Yeah, absolutely. So
good times.
There's good footage of us out there, though.
I think that's mostly true.
Yeah.
And if you're in the Central Arkansas area, you can catch us this Saturday at Devil's
someplace.
Rebels Den?
Rebels Den
Cycle Center in Benton, Arkansas, because they asked and we said okay.
There's a particular Maxine's show we did that's on YouTube still to this day.
That's right.
Not really a memorable show, other than it's a really good quality.
Yeah. We got a sound. We actually got
performance.
A board. We actually got a feed from the board. Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So.
All right. Is there any more you can think of? Is there anything else you can think about? What about the Fort Smith at Heroes gig?
That was fun.
I remember.
We'll save that for episode 2. Or the finale.
The finale? I think that one's pretty quick.
Season
I don't think
finale.
the show was that good. Oh, well, no, maybe it was. All I was remembering was that they asked us to do another set after we had nothing left. And we went out to the van and we were like, and
we're just pulling songs out of our butt.
Just pulling songs out.
That's right.
Yeah. I think the story...
I had an onion ring for the first time that night.
I think the story, or the part of that story that you're thinking about, would get people in trouble.
Probably.
So
it's just stuff we witnessed, but yeah.
Yeah. I think the thing I take away from that was it doesn't matter if you know the words to the song or not, because I remember we played China Grove and I knew the choruses and I knew how the song went, but I didn't sing any real words. No, nobody noticed. So little tip out there for you young musicians. As long as they're drunk enough and you don't get too close to the mic and the PA is not super awesome,
fake it till you make it.
They don't care what you're saying. All right. Well, we'll save all of the Midtown fake out stories. For the season finale. Maybe we can
I'm
get.
sure there's more. I didn't tell any Weisenheimer stories, but
we didn't tell any Weisenheimer stories. The story of you getting kicked out of the Weisenheimers is probably the best one.
Wasn't kicked out. I quit.
No, quit. All right. Depends on if you ask the bass player or not. Sorry, Carl. All right. So we also, if we could get Carl on here, the stories before you and Johnny and Leewood joined would embarrass. And Carl's not on social media, so theoretically we could just tell shit talking
tell him,
Carl
and he would
stories.
never know.
He would never know. He's cooking something somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this week on The Soundman Stole Our Gear and other gig stories. I have no idea if I've even booked anybody for next week. I'm a terrible host, as you've already seen. So tune in next week, maybe. I don't know. Or don't.
Who knows?
I don't care. Hit that like button or hit that dislike button. This person says you guys look like before and after weight loss pictures of the same guy. I think that's funnier than anything we've told. So tune in next week when
that's pretty good.
Jody B. Lucky sends us jokes and we just read those on the air for an hour.
That's pretty damn good.
It's pretty good. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.